I've been processing quite a bit about um, the cycles and the phases that we kind of go through. I've intentionally pointed the camera at the window today to show the beautiful, bright, sunny day that it is at the end of January here, 2025 in Dublin. The sun is definitely out. It's definitely starting to feel a little bit warmer compared to a month ago when it was near the winter solstice. It was only kind of getting bright at 8:30, 9 in the morning and starting to get dark very clearly at 4 o'clock, whereas we've seen a huge extension of that, almost an hour in both directions. And like, I think what's weird is that as humans, I feel out of phase because the calendar says that the year started a month ago, whereas I'm only starting to see signs of newness. So whether it's more light, I saw some little snowdrops around the corner, and like it, and the daffodils are starting to peak their shoots up, and the birds are starting to make a little bit more noise and hear their song in the mornings, and I think we're only getting to the place in the year where things start again. And I think for me on my personal journey, like I went and saw my barber last week and got a beard trim, and I think I'm coming out of the phase where I was let go of work in the middle of last year, and for a while I was in shock, and then I grieved it, and it took me a while to get myself moving again, even though I wasn't really processing and thinking about it. But I definitely had a point where I was waning and things kind of closed in a bit, and I had to do some internal work, and it went dark, and I probably went invisible to friends and maybe to the world for a bit. And even in the midst of that, like, I still felt the call and the desire to be creative, to like keep pulling out my music gear, to keep reading, to keep exploring, to keep seeing what was out there and what was engaged. And I was really reminded of this. I was listening to Rick Rubin's podcast, Tetragrammaton, I think it's pronounced. Sorry, Tetragrammaton. And he had an Irish poet and philosopher, David Whyte, on. And I hadn't come across him before, but I saw a piece where he was talking, and he reminded me so clearly of John O'Donoghue, who is an Irish poet and philosopher who's no longer with us, unfortunately. But it turns out that they were great friends and that they knew each other well, that they used to hang out with each other and talk and discuss the philosophical musings of life. But I could just hear the sort of same intonation, the same words, the same depth when I heard him reading his poetry. And he was talking about this in a way where he talks about the moon's phases. And I'll line it up with today in a minute, but he was talking about the fact that the moon starts and it gets bright and it coats to the full moon, and then it's waning for kind of half of the time, and then it disappears for 3 days. And he was talking about the disappearance, and in his poem he referenced the disappearing and the reawakening in the morning. And we disappear to somewhere else. And I think for a little while I disappeared. I think it was really evident because myself and my wife were having a really low day yesterday. And it was only this morning that I realized it's actually new moon, so it's in that exact period where the moon disappears and is behind the earth, so the sun's not reflecting off it, so it's in that hiding state, and it's about to start to eke into the new phase where it's waxing and growing and moving towards that. But it got me thinking about us as creatives, and that we can't always be on. I mean, for the longest time, I was a big Gary Vee fan. I still am. Look, I've got one of his books here, Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, you think he says some great stuff about if you want to get into marketing, if you want to show your stuff out, but he's very much on the put out 3 to 5 pieces of content on every platform every day to grow your brand. Thanks, Gary, that's great. As my wife often says, you've got a huge team around you. You've got an entire massive corporation that are helping people to do that. But as a one-person band, I can't sustain that. And having done 30 days of it, I realized, yes, there's definitely growth there. It definitely made me think about which platforms I'm using. But it definitely took me on a journey where I refined what I was doing and I got closer to something that was worthwhile. It wasn't just me like, oh, hi, I'm walking the dogs. Like, I definitely did that. But it got me to a place where I was much clearer about the intention of what I want to communicate. And putting out something for the sake of putting it out doesn't feel like it's valuable. And putting it out on a platform where I don't think there's a resonance or there's a clear connection with those of you who are watching these videos. I want to show up where there are people who are thinking about their lives, thinking about their creativity and thinking about how they fit it all in. And I really believe that that's here on YouTube. I also know that you are on Instagram looking for inspiration, and you might even be on LinkedIn looking for a new job, looking for a way to find the way to connect your creativity to your career. So I'm going to keep showing up on all of those platforms and keep putting out things that are helpful. Where I think this can help is that no matter where in that phase you are, regardless of whether you're at a place where you can pursue really deep connected work, I do think that there's a point to staying true to yourself. Now, I'm not talking about hustle. I'm not talking about excessively pushing yourself, because I think there's times when we just need to back off. And maybe it's in those times when we pick up a book and read it, or we take the time to explore some new music, or we watch some interesting films or movies that we have thought about for a long time. Maybe it's time when we take out a pen and journal, and we do something aside from our work. Because I really feel that there is a deep sense of connection. And I think for me, the creative act is taking those dispersed ideas, and seeds from different ideas and putting them together into something new. I think that's why I've been on a journey. I have created art through photography. I've created art through music. I've created art through video. I have yet to go and explore my drawing or painting abilities. I think that was kind of beaten out of me at school, and I'm not sure I've gotten to the point where I'm in terms that I'm prepared to go and kind of explore that. So much so that I refuse to play Pictionary, particularly with my wife, because she's an amazing artist and nobody knows what I'm drawing. And I understand that's part of the fun, but I think it deeply connects to an open wound for me. So I won't play Pictionary with you, at least not yet. I'm not evolved enough to go play Pictionary, but I might need to get some therapy and work on that. But I think that if we take that idea of the moon and half of the time it's brightening up and heading towards the full moon, and half of the time it's kind of waning and getting darker and going towards that dark period of new moon, that's 50-50. And I can't exist as a creative if I'm only able to create half the time. So I need to be kind to myself. You need to be kind to yourself. And when those moments where it's not working, where it's not gelling, where it's not clicking, that you're able to be kind enough to go, I'm not going to force it today. Maybe today is a good day to tidy up. Maybe it's a good day to reorganize. Maybe it's a day to order up the supplies that I'm, out of. Maybe I can go for a walk and enjoy outside. Maybe I can leave my phone behind and pick up a leaf pick up a stone on the beach, spend a moment listening to the birds or the waves crashing on the shore. Maybe it's time I can pick up books. Like, honestly, I have been on a hunt. I have ordered up at least a book a week. I'm not reading a book a week at the moment, but like, I'm mostly through the first book that I started this year, and I'm getting there, and I've picked up a couple others, and they're exciting me with new topics and new ideas. And they're certainly spawning thoughts around my creativity around YouTube and YouTube videos. So if I can just leave you with one thing, it's to be kind to yourself. And don't forget that it's up to you to honor the call to the creative, whatever that looks like in your life. Whether you're full on heading towards full moon, you're full of energy, you're full of exuberance, you're able to explore it, you're able to be extrovert and out there with all of the energy and your art, or maybe you're in that point where you're still cocooned, you're still wrapped up in your blanket, you're still on the couch looking through old copies of magazines or reading books or just staring at a candle. Whatever point you are in your journey around your creativity, be kind to yourself. Honor that. Don't expect anything crazy big to come. But if we stick at it day in, day out, month in, month out, through all these phases, I believe that something beautiful is going to come out the other end. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what you produce. I can't wait to see what I produce. Okay, big love. I'll talk to you soon.